Welcome to Lead with Kindness, your essential podcast for disrupting the workplace with kindness and well-being. I'm Helen Rimmer, and I'm armed with 20 years of leadership experience and a passion for positive psychology. I'm here to offer practical tips and share inspiring stories to revolutionise leadership. Ready to challenge them all? Let's dive in and transform our workplaces together. It's time to make a difference. Let's get started. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Sally Singleton, a distinguished mindfulness coach and teacher. Sally has dedicated her career to helping individuals find peace, balance and presence in their daily lives through the practice of mindfulness. Her work at Mindful Interlude has not only transformed lives, but also reshaped how we approach mental health and well-being in personal and professional settings. Today, we'll explore the transformative power of mindfulness and how it can lead us towards a kinder, more compassionate world of work. Sally, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay. So Sally, could you share with us your journey into mindfulness coaching and teaching and what inspired you to pursue the path?
Right. Well, I can give you the long version or the short version. I could probably give you the short version. Stress, basically, stress and anxiety. So I worked in corporate learning and development for 14 years. And, as I moved up the ranks, it just got more and more stressful. I just didn't cope very well, to be quite honest. And then, I started meditating when I was about 30, which really helped. But it was only certain types of meditation. It wasn't mindfulness. So it helped me to feel calm in those moments of needing to feel calm, but it didn't give me those kind of mental skills that mindfulness gives you. When I had my firstborn child, oh my word. It's all, I mean, for everybody, it's a blur anyway, isn't it? But like it really was, really became apparent that actually I needed to do something. And then I was introduced to mindfulness properly. I think I've been using Headspace for a couple of years, but really learned it. And I just went, that is it. I am teaching this. I'm not doing learning and development in corporate anymore. I am going to teach this. And that was it. Never looked back. It's the best thing I've ever done.
I love those stories. That's brilliant. So for our listeners who might be new to the concept, how do you define mindfulness and why is it important in today's fast-paced world?
Oh, good question. And it's an important question, actually, because there are so many myths about what mindfulness is. And I think that's simply because it's grown so much. And the reason why it's grown so much in the last, few years is because of the science behind it. And it's all saying this stuff is great, you should try it. So everybody's jumped on the bandwagon and then it's kind of lost its meaning. But in a simple term, it is about being present. It's about training your attention. So mind training your attention to focus it where you want it to focus it. So for example, it could be on the breath, it could be on the body, it could simply be on the task that you're doing. So paying attention, but also building this awareness of what's going on, what's going on around you, what's going in the body, what's going on in the mind. And, when you have that ability to see things clearly and move your attention where you want it to go, wow, life can get, a little bit easier. But there's another leg to the stool, which is also really important, which, fits in very well with your, your kind of agenda. And it's this idea of kindness and self-compassion. So not only do we see our thoughts and see our body reactions and what's going on, but we learn through meditation this element of how can we be non-judgmental with it? How can we be kinder to it? How can we be more self-compassionate? So, and that is one of the most important parts. Without, somebody said this to me, without the self-compassion part, without the kindness, it's just brain training. And mindfulness is not brain training. It needs this element of gentleness, kindness, and self-compassion.
Yeah, there's evidence that practicing mindfulness improves compassion in the workplace as well.
Oh, 100%.
Find the studies and I will put them in the show notes.
I've got those studies.
I bet you have. I bet you have. We can make sure they're all there. So in your experience, and you've touched on this a bit, but how does practicing mindfulness impact an individual's well-being and professional performance?
So let's look at it from a psychological perspective first. You know, from a psychological perspective, it helps us to feel calmer, less stressed. It helps us to, feel sleep better, etc. It helps us to focus. It helps us to concentrate. It helps us just to be in the moment. You know, I suppose from a physiological perspective, it helps to lower our heart rate. It can help to lower our blood pressure. Again, I suppose from a physiological perspective, it helps us sleep as well. There's all sorts of studies that show the physical benefits of mindfulness, you know, less muscle tension, less pain. And then from a neuroscientific perspective, all that can be shown within scanners, brain scanners, MRI scanners, for example. The brain lights up like a Christmas tree, you know. So I suppose, you know, from a well-being perspective, you can see all that happening from a neuroscience perspective, which is absolutely fascinating. You know, there's parts of the brain responsible for stress, your amygdala, and there's a study that shows that that's decreased in size in a particular study. There's studies that shows that the grey matter of your thinking and decision making is thicker. If we talk about self-compassion and kindness, it's the insular part of the brain which has an impact on our mood and awareness of self and others, and that's shown to enhance as well our memory and learning. So, I mean, all that you can't, you can't say doesn't support well-being. You know, it's really compelling evidence.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And when you practice it, you feel it too, which is
yeah, I should say, yeah, I am there. I am definitely feel it. Can you share a memorable story where mindfulness significantly transformed someone's approach to work or leadership?
Do you know, yeah, I mean, so many. Currently what I'm doing at the moment is I focus a lot on coaches. So how can coaches be more present with their own clients? So for example, a really good example might be a client that, that I've just finished with just recently. She found that she had very stressed out clients herself. And what was happening is they would come to her with support and help, and they would just be talking for ages at her. And actually, she wasn't getting down to business, and although this person needed to offload, there is kind of a little bit of a limit. So what she was finding was that she came to me to be able to help her clients feel calmer. So ultimately, me to teach them to teach her to deliver a short practice. What it turned out was that she got all these benefits of mindfulness and her journey and her personal journey, and how she would not only be able to support her clients and get more out of those sessions and be able to give a better service, but she was also not taking on board all the emotions that went on with that. So when she'd finished a session, she felt calmer in herself. She wasn't taking things home, because she'd have quite, intense sessions with clients with, with difficulties. Helped her on her journey with her own trauma with her parents and things like that, actually.
Wow.
So and those are the things that she wasn't expecting. And that's what I find when I teach people, is they can't always believe how much they get for themselves personally. Although the target is, for us to have, be better coaches and have improved coaching skills, but actually the whole holistic approach is that we are calmer, we are more focused and concentrated in every part of our life, and not just with the people that we work with, yeah.
I love that story, because that really shows the impact of how it can ripple out as well.
Completely, yeah.
So you offer various mindfulness programs. Could you give us an overview of these and how they cater to different needs?
So the current offering that I have at the moment, which is I offer a 12-week mindful coach program. This is the main one that I deliver, and it's a one-to-one basis. And what I do is I help coaches go through this journey of learning mindfulness for themselves, so much so that they can stabilize their mind, they can focus, they can concentrate. They can let go of that inner critic that's always there in the background, whether that's with a client or without a client. Having that ability to tap into intuition because you're so present and you're connected to your body, and then helping them ultimately be able to deliver an authentic and a safe mindfulness practice to their clients too, a short practice. I've attended some pretty interesting meditations from people who don't really know what they're doing. And that's important from a safety perspective, to deliver something that's authentic. So that's my main programs. It is 12 weeks and it's an hour and a half a week for 12 weeks, and with lots of meditation is required. From a corporate perspective, I sometimes go into corporates and I'll deliver one-off sessions. Maybe that could be an hour or a day, where really what I'm doing there is delivering theoretical rather than the mindfulness skills. So going in and telling people how they can do it, giving them tips on how it works, and giving them tools to go away with and start practicing. And then obviously if people want one-to-one or small group sessions that I can deliver my program to, that comes kind of afterwards.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Hopefully people listening will be signing up in all accounts, both my coaching friends and family and people, but also the corporates. So mindfulness is often seen as a personal practice, and you've sort of touched on this as well. How can it be effectively integrated into workplace culture and leadership?
I mean, yeah. So ultimately, when we're talking about mindfulness, if we really get into the nitty gritty of it, it's not just about being present, not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future. When we have that awareness and that ability to see what's going on in a given moment, it opens up to choices. It opens us up to, okay, what is the next right action? So if you're in any kind of work situation or personal situation, if you can sense that you're feeling stressed, you're feeling anxious, or if you can sense joy, if you can, whatever it is, then it gives you the option to respond to a situation rather than react. Say, for example, you're in a workplace situation and someone's kicking off, or you get an email that, one of those emails, I've had many of them in my past, and you want to respond straight away, or you want to answer straight away. What mindfulness does is it gives you the ability to stay calm because you've developed this capacity to have a lower level of stress anyway, but to pause and say, okay, maybe I don't need to react in this situation. Maybe I can respond. Maybe I can wait. Maybe I could just stay present for a moment. Maybe I can ground myself in the moment to turn to a place of feeling a bit more settled in the mind before I respond. Because when we're stressed, it's impossible to see clearly.
Yeah.
We've all had that moment of not red mist necessarily, but like
Panic.
Whatever it is, the brain shuts down when we're stressed and it can't think clearly. So to me, mindfulness, in the workplace is so important. It's so incredibly important. Can you imagine if all leaders had this ability to be mindful and, to be able to kind of think sometimes before they speak, or to have more self-compassion, come from a place of understanding, of caring.
Yeah, it needs to be in every workplace, and it's that deeper level of well-being, isn't it? It's beyond that level, and it's brilliant. So facing challenges and stress is a common part of any workplace. How can mindfulness help in managing these inevitable aspects? Again, you've sort of touched on it, but a bit more.
So for managing stress, I think one is if we only just meditated regularly, rather than learning the actual skills of mindfulness necessarily, we would still be tapping into that ability to be calmer on a daily basis. So an example might be like when we wake up in the morning, we've got high cortisol levels. It gets us out of bed. And by the end of the day, in theory, what should happen? We should have low cortisol levels, which helps us sleep. Now, if you're in a stressful environment at work, and you're constantly being triggered, whether that's all the notifications that's coming round, like that's kind of like can certainly trigger something, can't it? Or whether you've got presentations to do, whether you've got nasty meetings to go to, or challenging people around you, this cortisol level stays high instead of coming down. So if we can meditate, whether that's first thing on a morning or last thing at night, and we implement little bits of mindfulness, those moments of letting go of this thinking mind and coming back to the present moment, it will ever so slightly bring down those cortisol levels like they're supposed to do. So that when we have a challenging situation, we won't already be in a high stress place. We'll come from a place of grounding and a place of steadiness. I mean, even in meetings, and this is something I teach to my clients as well, is that we can learn the skills to be grounded in a situation where we are talking to someone. So, feeling the feet on the floor, feeling the body on the chair, feeling the breath in those moments of challenge when we're sat opposite someone and we're having that conversation. Or, maybe you're a leader and you have colleagues or employees who are going through a really tough time. And you need to be there with a sense of presence, with deep listening, really listening to that person so that they are heard in a situation that can be challenging. These are great leadership skills and great management skills that are required, to be a good leader. Employees need to be heard.
Definitely.
So, and I think it is about, okay, how can we, one is make this a regular practice so that we have this ability to tap into mindfulness in the first place, but also bringing these little moments throughout the day. And there's loads of great ones that you can do, whether that's to support levels of stress or whether you just want to go into a situation feeling grounded, feeling focused and feeling concentrated and present.
Amazing. So again, you touched on this a bit, but for leaders looking to foster a culture of kindness and well-being, what are some practical mindfulness exercises or practices they can start with?
I think the thing to start off with whenever I suggest any mindfulness practices for people, it's about starting small. What's manageable?
Yeah.
I think we can all quote James Clear or creating habit and all that, can't we? Over and over again. I'm sure you've heard it a million times before. But it's starting small and allowing yourself to kind of fail, I suppose. You might decide to have a regular practice every day. A morning practice, or if you're not a morning person, then a lunchtime practice, or finding out what works for you. But those small moments can add up. If you made the decision to sit for a minute, that minute might become 2 minutes, might become 3, might become longer. And then you'll start to see the benefits of this, and then that will grow. When it comes to, mindful moments throughout the day, encouraging people to maybe when the computer's loading up, taking that moment to just sit, pause for a moment, rather than, shuffling loads of papers and getting the coffee. Maybe when you do get the coffee, it's taking those first few sips and really paying attention to it. I'm not saying the whole cup, that might be quite, a lot to do. That's a whole meditation itself, isn't it? A whole cup of coffee. But the first few sips, just, tasting it. Encouraging your employees to have that time, to take lunches, to take breaks, perhaps even having a room in the office where people can go for, just a moment of silence.
Oh, that would be
encouraging walks, getting out and feeling the feet on the floor. All sorts.
Thing to do, that would be. There's increasing talk about the role of mindfulness in enhancing emotional intelligence. Could you elaborate on this connection?
Yes, because when we are really able to be present with someone and able to listen, we're able to ask intuitive questions. We're able to tap into this sense of awareness, when we're being mindful, aware of our own reactions internally, and also being aware of tapping into other people's presence too, which, is so important. And does build this level of understanding others. Yeah, it's everything that we've said so far, really, isn't it? Of And yeah, that connection with other people, it builds relationships.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree completely. So finally, for those inspired to start the mindfulness journey, what advice would you give them to begin with intention and purpose?
So probably what I've just said before.
But yeah,
So yeah, just start small, you
that's,
know.
yeah,
And and these the apps are very good.
yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff out there that you can use.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, what happens, and even having a plan for when you inevitably fail.
yeah,
We set out with this intention, I'm going to do this every day and blah
yeah,
blah blah. And mindfulness is all about starting again. So if you think about meditating, when the mind wanders, we have to start again.
yeah,
When the mind wanders, and there's stats to show that, our minds are off task 47% of the time. We're not thinking about what we're doing. So if
yeah,
you're on a meditation and half the time your mind is wandering, that's perfectly normal. We begin again, we begin again. And it's the same in our own personal practice. We might miss a day or two, we begin again. We start small.
yeah.
And
And
that's building your kindness, and isn't
it
it?
is
Building.
absolutely. And if people want to find out more, where can they find you?
Well, I have a website, mindfulinterlude.co.uk, and I'm quite active on LinkedIn too. So Sally Singleton on LinkedIn. Yeah, so come and find me, have a chat. I can talk for England, so.
Make you a very good podcast guest. I will put all those links in the show notes. And yeah, so thank you for joining us on Lead with Kindness. I hope today's episode has inspired you and equipped you with practical insights to bring more kindness and well-being into your leadership journey. Remember, the transformation towards kinder workplaces starts with us, and every small step counts. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, share it with fellow leaders, and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more people committed to positive change. I'm Helen Rimmer, and it's been a pleasure to be a part of your leadership journey today. Until next time, keep leading with kindness and fostering well-being in all that you do. Goodbye and take care.